Welcome. Welcome to Soulversation. I'm Max Soul, and I am thrilled to be here with you.
And I'm Mellow Soul. So excited for our very first deep dive into soul and the hustle.
For our premiere, we're spotlighting a true giant, someone who not only shaped music, but the music business itself.
That's right. We're talking about a pioneer who understood his worth and changed the game for artists everywhere. The architect of artist autonomy, Ray Charles.
Boy, that's a mouthful. The man, the legend, the genius, right? Yep, he blended genres and built an empire by knowing his value and calling his own shots.
Yeah, he was more than just a singer. He was a visionary businessman demanding creative control and ownership.
Yeah, he was a bridge builder and a true boss. So get ready as we explore the music, the money moves, and the lasting impact of Ray Charles right here on Soulversation. Let's get it on.
Let's go.
Welcome back to Soulversations, the sound that built the bridge.
Ray Charles was the first to really blend gospel's fire, blues's grit, and jazz's intellect into one unstoppable groove. It wasn't just mixing genres, it was a complete alchemy. He took these deeply rooted traditions and forged something entirely new.
No accident either, right? He took the call and response of the church, that fundamental human interaction in music, dropped it on top of a blues shuffle, that raw, earthy rhythm. Then he threw in those sophisticated jazz voicings, the harmonic richness, and bam, soul, right? Wow, pure, unadulterated soul. It was a sonic explosion.
Exactly. He made spiritual intensity commercial and real. There was no pretense, no watering down. When you hear I Got a Woman, that Sunday morning turned into Friday night. You feel the fervor, the passion, the undeniable truth in his voice, whether he's singing about earthly love or divine devotion.
And you know what's wild, right? The radio couldn't box it in. Black stations, white stations, they all had to play it, right? He made the crossover without changing who he was, without compromising his roots or his sound, right? Remember that. No compromising on his roots or his sound. He stayed genuine to who he was, right? So that's a testament to the sheer power and authenticity of his music.
Yeah, he wasn't just crossing over, he was the bridge. He connected these seemingly disparate worlds of music, and in doing so, he connected people. Think about the social implications. He was this black artist, unapologetically black in his sound, and he was being embraced by like a mainstream white audience, and that was revolutionary at the time.
Oh, absolutely. He kicked down doors musically and culturally, right? So he showed artists that you could be commercially successful without having to dilute your artistic vision. He laid the groundwork for so many who came after him, from Sam Cooke to Aretha Franklin and beyond. They all stood on the shoulders of the giant he became.
And it wasn't just his vocal delivery either. It was his piano playing was just as groundbreaking. That percussive attack and those intricate runs, it was like he was channeling the entire history of black music through his fingertips. He could be tender and explosive all within the same phrase.
And his arrangements, too. So the Raelettes, right, those incredible backing vocalists, they were also an integral part of his sound. And their call and response with Ray, those tight harmonies, well, it added another layer of that gospel intensity we were talking about. I mean, it was all so meticulously crafted, yet felt so organic and raw. I love that.
Yeah, you listen to his early stuff even before he fully embraced the soul label, and you can hear those elements simmering. The blues influence is undeniable, but there's always that undercurrent of something more, that yearning, that spiritual depth that would eventually blossom into what we now call soul.
Right, and the emotional honesty in his voice, well, it's just unparalleled, right? You believe every single word he sings, whether it's joy, pain, longing, or defiance. He laid bare the human experience in a way that was both universal and deeply personal, right? That's the essence of soul, isn't it? That raw, unfiltered emotion.
Yes, it is. And Ray Charles, perhaps more than anyone, understood that. He took the pain and the triumph and the sacred and the secular and wove them together into a tapestry of sound that continues to inspire and move us decades later. He wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature.
Right? A true innovator. He wasn't afraid to experiment, to push boundaries, to be himself. That's the legacy that this guy left, right? Not just incredible music, but the courage to be authentic in your art. Hear that? The courage to be authentic in your art. That's some real cool shit, right? And
Right.
that bridge he built, it's still standing strong, connecting generations of musicians and listeners. We'll be right back with segment 2. All right, let's get into the business side of things, because this is just as crucial to his legacy as the music itself. All right, 1960, Ray Charles makes a power move and signs with ABC Paramount.
But here's the mic drop moment. The detail that separates him from so many artists of that era is that he demanded and ultimately secured ownership of his masters and full creative control. And just let that sink in for a second.
Like, pause right there, right? Like, that wasn't just bold. No, that was unheard of. That was unheard of, especially for a black artist navigating the treacherous landscape of the musical industry during the Jim Crow era, right? The power dynamics were so skewed against black artists.
Man, labels back then, they owned you, body and soul, it felt like. You were an asset on their books, and your creative input was often minimal, if it was considered at all. You didn't even have a say in something as fundamental as your album covers or what songs got released or what songs got recorded, for that matter. Ray looked at that system and said, nah, I'm calling the shots. And that takes incredible foresight and self-belief.
Right? It wasn't just about ego either, right? It was about understanding the long game, the value of his artistry. Remember that. That's something to talk about, the value of his artistry. He knew what he had. He knew who he was. He knew his worth. He walked into that boardroom blind, yes, but business sharp. He understood his worth, and he wasn't afraid to leverage it. The contract was revolutionary. He bet on himself, and he won in a way that few artists, especially black artists, had ever won before.
And owning those masters, that wasn't just a symbolic victory. That meant that Ray kept getting paid on his terms for his work, for the long haul. That's generational wealth being built right there. Legacy rights, empire building. He secured his family's future and his artistic legacy in one fell swoop.
Right? He became the blueprint, right? Even if it wasn't always widely publicized, quietly, strategically, boldly, right? He set a new standard for artist empowerment. Think about how many artists since then have fought for similar rights, directly or indirectly inspired by Ray's precedent.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about the money, though that was certainly significant. The creative control aspect was equally vital. He had the freedom to explore his musical vision without the stifling interference of label execs trying to fit him into some neat little box. That freedom allowed him to create the groundbreaking music that we still celebrate today.
Right? Consider the context of time. Many black artists were being exploited. Their royalties were often unfairly low, and they had little or no say in their own careers. Ray's move was a direct challenge to that system. It was a statement of self-respect and demand for equitable treatment.
And it likely wasn't an easy negotiation. Imagine the pushback he must have faced. Label execs weren't accustomed to artists, especially black artists, making such demands. He must have had incredible conviction and a strong team behind him to pull that off.
You know, it speaks volumes about his understanding of the industry and his own value, right? So we all got to know what our value is, especially artists, especially us that write, especially us that create. Right? These are really important things for ourselves. We got to know what we're worth. He wasn't just a talented musician. He was a shrewd businessman. He saw his music not just as art, but also as an asset, something he should have control over.
And just think about the long-term impact. Because he owned his masters, he had more leverage in licensing for films and TV and commercials and all that down the line. That's another revenue stream and another way that his music could always reach new audiences, all on his terms.
And this move also fostered a sense of artistic integrity. Knowing that he had certain creative control likely empowered him to take more risks, right? To explore different sounds and collaborations without fear of label interference. Wow, that's where true innovation often comes from.
Yeah, and it's a powerful reminder for artists today about the importance of understanding their rights and advocating for themselves.
There's our bell.
Ray Charles in 1960 laid down a marker that's still relevant and inspiring. He showed that artistic brilliance and business acumen can and should go hand in hand.
Absolutely. It's a chapter in his story that deserves just as much attention as his incredible musicianship. And let me tell you something, his musicianship was incredible. I had the very, very, very amazing luck to have worked with Ray Charles at the Apollo Theater when I was working there as an engineer. And he was on stage with the big band, and he had one monitor. No one in the band had monitors, right? Just he had one monitor. And in that monitor in front of his piano, which was on the other side of the band, was his voice and his piano. But yet, in the song they were doing, he stops the band at like 5 bars in, 4 bars in, and says, "Yo, why'd you miss that beat on the third note of the 4th bar of the second?" I mean, it was just,
And he called the specific musician at that big band.
he's called the exact musician out, what note he played, and where it was. How did he hear that? How did he hear that? I mean, it's just amazing, right? So he wasn't just a talented musician. And it's a testament to his intelligence, his self-worth, and his understanding of the power he held. He didn't just change music, he changed the game.
Okay, we ran a little over. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back to Soulversations, the ripple effect.
Okay, so let's fast forward now, and you start to see the seeds that Ray planted blossoming in significant ways. Think about Prince fiercely battling his label, which was Warner Brothers at the time, for ownership of his masters. That fight, that very concept of an artist demanding control over their creative output and its financial rewards has Ray's DNA in it.
Absolutely. And look at Jay-Z building Rockefeller. His famous line, "I'm about a businessman, not a business man." Well, that embodies the same spirit Ray operated in. It's about understanding your worth, building your own empire, and having control over your destiny, both creatively and financially. Ray was doing that decades before anybody.
And Taylor Swift re-recording her entire catalog, well, that unprecedented move, taking back control of her artistic legacy in such a public and impactful way, Ray's contract with ABC Paramount, that insistence on owning his masters made that kind of bold action even conceivable. Decades before her very public battle even started, Ray quietly laid the legal and philosophical foundation for artists to assert their ownership.
Right. It's a direct line, even if many people don't consciously connect the dots. Ray's victory wasn't just for him. It subtly shifted the landscape, making labels at least somewhat more aware that artists with significant leverage could and would demand more equitable terms. Right? He normalized the idea that an artist's creative work was inherent and lasting in value and that they deserve control. And he was correct.
Yeah, he fundamentally challenged the old exploitative model where artists, particularly black artists, were often treated as disposable commodities. And he showed us that creative control and business control aren't separate entities. You can be the soul, the artistic heart, and the CEO, the strategic mind all at once. You don't have to choose.
And the irony, as you said, is that Ray did it all relatively quietly, right? No grandstanding, no public outcry, just shrewd negotiation and a firm understanding of his own worth. He let his business acumen speak for itself, just like his music did. That is boss behavior. And that's setting a standard through action, not just words. And I'm telling you, if he didn't get his way, he would shut it down.
Well, just think about the generations of artists who have benefited, even indirectly. Maybe they don't know the specifics of Ray's 1960 contract, but the precedent was there. The idea that owning your masters was a legitimate and achievable goal became more ingrained in the artist's consciousness.
Yeah, and it also empowered artists to think beyond just making music. It opened the door to artists becoming entrepreneurs, building their own labels, and having a greater stake in the entire ecosystem surrounding their art. Jay-Z is a prime example, right? But you can see echoes of that spirit in countless other artists who have taken control of their careers and their businesses.
And it's not just about the superstars. That shift in mindset and the understanding of the value of ownership and creative control trickles down to independent artists as well. They're more aware of their rights and more likely to negotiate better terms and are more empowered to build sustainable careers on their own terms.
Yeah, Ray's story serves as a powerful reminder that artistic brilliance doesn't have to come at the expense of business savvy. In fact, understanding the business side can be crucial for protecting your art and ensuring its longevity, something that everybody should keep in mind. Any of us writers, any of us creators, this is so important. Protect your art, right? And Ray, well, he was a pioneer in this regard, showing you that you can both be a visionary creator and a sharp negotiator. That's a bad one.
He didn't. He bad mother, shut your mouth. He didn't. He didn't just
Talk about shit.
He didn't just leave us an incredible catalog of music. He left us a blueprint for artist empowerment. He showed us that you don't have to accept the status quo, that you can fight for what you deserve, and that owning your work is essential for building a lasting legacy.
Okay, so when we talk about the impact of Ray Charles, it ain't about just the sound that built the bridge. It's also about the business moves that helped pave the way for a more equitable future for artists. He was a true game changer in every sense of the word. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Soulversations. So next time Georgia on My Mind or any of those timeless Ray Charles tracks hit your speakers, take a moment to appreciate the depth of his artistry. Yes, but also know that you're hearing a man who owned his sound and his destiny. He wasn't just performing, he was a proprietor of his own genius.
Absolutely. And to every young artist listening out there, right, soaking in these stories, learn your scales, hone your craft, but also learn your contacts. Understand the business side of things. Ray Charles mastered both worlds. He was a sonic innovator and a savvy businessman. And that powerful combination, and that was one powerful combination, is what truly allowed him to change the game for generations to come.
That's right. His story is a powerful testament to the fact that artistic integrity and business acumen don't have to be mutually exclusive. They can and perhaps should go hand in hand. That's where lasting impact is made.
So that's it for this Soulversation, right? Diving deep into the groundbreaking sound and the equally revolutionary business mind of the one and only Ray Charles is a fitting person for our first broadcast. I think Ray really set the tone for this entire thing that we do today. Yeah, so I'm very, very proud of that, right? So we hope you've gained a new appreciation for his multifaceted genius.
And get ready, because next time we're turning our attention to the queen herself, Aretha Franklin.
Ooh, what you want?
We're going to delve into how she stepped into the studio and took absolute command and undeniably made soul a woman's world too. Get ready for stories of power, passion, and unparalleled vocal prowess.
You definitely don't want to miss this one, right? We'll be exploring how Aretha's unique blend of gospel roots, R&B swagger, and sheer vocal power, because that girl can sing, redefined soul music and cemented her legendary status.
Until then, keep that soul fire burning. Protect your sound, nurture your creativity, own your voice, and remember the lessons from the giants who came before. And yes, protect your masters and seek out wise mentors who can guide you on your journey.
Right, catch you on the next Soulversation. We are excited to share Aretha's incredible story with y'all. Peace and soul, y'all.